I was homeless at the age of 19, sleeping in the back of my car. While it was the worst season of my life, it was also the best season of my life because it taught me how to really value where you are in life and how you don't need a lot to be successful. And wealth is defined differently for me today because wealth is not about a lot of money. It's about the wisdom, knowledge, and resources that I have. And how am I putting those into place?
Let's go! Let's go!
Welcome to Fika with Rice. I'm excited to have you on the show. You're #1 national best-selling author, host of a popular YouTube show and on the podcast, The Table. We're going to talk about wealth building, how to create more freedom in life. And I want to start this episode with some rapid-fire questions. It has become a tradition here at Fika with Rice. Our guests, they love it. See it as an appetizer to this Fika. It goes like this. I'll make a statement and then you'll finish the sentence. Does that make sense?
No problem.
Yeah. If I was 20 years old today, I would do
nothing. I would sit still and seek wisdom from older people.
The biggest mistake I made when I was in college was
taking out student loans.
That's a good one. Yeah. When I grew up, my biggest dream was
to own a BMW 745 Li.
Why that specific car?
The BMW was, if you had a BMW back then, you were rich if you had a BMW.
So you wanted to become rich when you were young then, so to speak?
Yes. Yep. Uh-huh.
And that BMW was a symbol of making it, so to speak.
Yes, sir. Sure was.
Was that because you saw this specific car, somebody in your neighborhood or somebody in your city or town that you grew up with that had that car?
That was just the car that everybody in my culture and my community was going for, a BMW or a Mercedes.
Where did you grow up, Anthony?
San Diego, California.
The most common mistake people make with their money?
Don't have a budget and they borrow from other people. So they overextend on their actual means.
The most common mistake people make when they get their first graduate job?
Don't account for taxes correctly.
The best advice I received from my parents when I was young was?
Live below your means.
That's a great one. My parents, they told me that too, The biggest misconception about having more freedom in life is?
That you have all the freedom in the world.
Yeah, it is true. It is true. It's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. I wish I knew when I was 25.
I wish I knew when I was 25 how to properly approach ladies, how to properly date in that generation.
That's underrated.
It's very underrated. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Men in their 20s are taught to, have fun, but they're not really taught how to respect women, how to properly approach them, how to value them. I wish someone would have taught me that.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that you learn either from parents or from your friends, or something that you just learn from the people you hang out with, and then that's just a random solution to that.
Yeah, facts. I agree.
I read that you were homeless in college. What happened?
Man, I graduated from high school from a very strong Christian faith home, right? So I grew up in a Christian faith home, and my family wouldn't let me go to prom. They wouldn't let me do any dances, really wouldn't let me do anything. And so when I graduated from high school, I wanted to have freedom. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to do anything and everything that I wanted to do. And so when I got into college, I pretty much left all of the teaching and all of the groundwork that my parents put into me. And I just went out there chasing ladies, chasing money, chasing popularity. And unfortunately, I made a bad decision when it came to pledging a particular fraternity that unfortunately got me pretty much, I had to drop out of school because of a bad decision that I made, particularly with that particular fraternity. And so I had to drop out of school. I had racked up about $35,000 in debt. And I lost my job. I lost my apartment. And my father wouldn't let me come back home because he was like, hey, this is not how we raised you to be. And so since you've made these decisions, you're going to live with the consequences as well. And because of those consequences, I was like, nah, uh, I got this. And I thought my friends would let me stay with them. I thought the young ladies who I tried to impress would let me stay with them. And none of them allowed me to stay with them, man. And unfortunately, I was homeless. I was homeless at the age of 19, sleeping in the back of my car. And man, it was a hard season of my life. For 6 months of my life, I'm taking showers in the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club. I am sleeping in the back of my car, taking baths sometimes in the back of my car, asking people, can I borrow some money so I can get something to eat? But while it was the worst season of my life, it was also the best season of my life because it taught me, bro, how to really value where you are in life and how you don't need a lot to be successful. And wealth is defined differently for me today because wealth is not about a lot of money. It's about the wisdom, knowledge, and resources that I have, and how am I putting those into place. So that's how I got into that, man.
You said that you don't need a lot to become successful. What do you need to become successful from your perspective?
Wisdom and knowledge. Wisdom, knowledge, dedication, and determination. Last one in there, just discipline. If you have those 5 things, you can and will be successful.
Why do you think so many people fail in that, in getting those attributes, so to speak?
I think a lot of people have one of those attributes. I don't think they have all 5 of them. I think that they think that they're getting wisdom, but they're getting the wrong kind of wisdom. They think that they have discipline, but they have discipline in the wrong areas. They think that they are determined, but they're determined to go after the wrong thing. And I think if we can really start teaching people how to get the right wisdom, how to get the correct information, as in knowledge, how to be determined for the right thing, then they'll be successful. But like, for an example, growing up, I was taught if you want to be rich, look like you're rich first. So go buy the Jordans when you can't afford the Jordans. No one said if you want to be rich, don't buy the Jordans, go to Payless, buy some shoes, save, create margin, avoid debt, live below your means. And then when you stack up enough money, go buy the Jordans while you still have Jordan money in your savings account. So I think a lot of people are getting the wrong kind of wisdom and the wrong kind of knowledge, and they're thinking that they're getting the right knowledge. But that's why I'm doing like my show when I have my brand, to educate them and to give them the correct information, so we can give them the right information so they really can be successful and be successful in the right areas. Because you have people successful in racking up debt. You have people successful living above their means. You have people successful, buying all these big things, but they're not successful in setting their life up down the road. So that's why I think people are not really winning, because they're getting the wrong information when they think they're getting the right information.
Yeah, I think also today, I mean, we're living in really an information age. Like, you get so much information just like pulling up Twitter, Instagram, Wikipedia. You can collect any type of information, like whatever you want. Quora.
Yeah.
Quora is like, there's so many gold nuggets there, you just need to know what you're looking for. Yep.
You got to know what you're looking for, which is very important that you have the right people around you. It's very important that you have the right accounting people around you. So that way, if you, let's say if you get some information, you can come back over here to this person and say, hey, listen, I was told this. What do you think? No, that's not right. Or no, that's right. You need to listen to that. You need to apply that. Now, I have mentors that if I get something that is out of the norm, I bring it to them and they say yes, they say no. They help make sure that I am staying on track with my goals, with my vision, and I'm not getting off my current path because I'm getting the wrong information. So it's important to have the right accountability partners around you and the correct people around you as well.
Why do you think so many young people, especially Anthony, fail in that though? Like the 20 to 21-year-olds? Because that's the way I feel, like especially first generation immigrants or people that come not from like a wealthy family, so to speak. They might not have this like type of like, hey, you need to have a mentor. this is the way you need to be thinking. So when they go to college for the first time, I mean, they're just focusing on studying or getting like having a good time. They're not necessarily thinking of those things.
Well, I mean, again, it goes
that's my
back to the
perspective.
yeah, it goes back to the culture and the people that they're around. You know what I'm saying? When you look at the 20-year-olds and just young people today, one is the parents. What are the parents teaching them? Two, they're in school. I mean, 8 hours a day. If they're in college for at least a good 3-4 hours a day, and then their peers. So when you look at that community, what is this community teaching them? What is this community exposing them to? So if the parents are not teaching them how to live below their means, how to start investing early, or how to avoid debt, and if the culture is saying, hey, if you want to be wealthy, look like it, dress like it, rack up debt so you can have a good credit score and go ahead and buy these things on credit and pay back the minimum payment. And then their friends are cheering them on, saying, yo, I see them Jordans, so that's what's up. But none of the friends are asking them, how much money do you have in your savings? How much money do you have invested? Yo, like they're making this culture seem this new sexy, and it's really not sexy. And so I think that's why the 20-year-olds are kind of struggling right now. And that's why I was struggling. It's because my parents taught me everything about God. They made sure that I did good in school, but they didn't teach me how to live life. They didn't teach me how to build wealth. They didn't teach me how to start a business. They didn't teach me to avoid credit. They didn't teach me really how to live below my means. You know, they said, as long as you know God and love God and live by the word of God, you'll be all right. When I think part of that is true, but the other part is, what's the practical? How do I live? How do I budget? How do I properly invest? And so if our young people are not getting exposed to that, and we're leaving them to be exposed by the world, then that's why they're making the decisions that they're making, because the world is teaching them what to do, not we teaching them what to do the right way.
For the parents out there listening, have teenagers at home, what are like 3 things that they should be teaching their kids, according to you, Anthony?
Well, here's the very first thing. Number one is sit down with them and just get the vision for their life. I think young people need to start learning, what is a vision, and how important is a vision to have for their life? So let's say you have a senior at home. Hey, son, hey, daughter, what does the next 4 years look like? Are you going to school? Are you going to trade school? Are you getting a job? What do the next 4 years of your life look like as you're transitioning? What's the vision and the direction that you're going? That's number one, right? Number two, we gotta teach them the basics to money. We got to give them some financial literacy, the basics. I'm not talking nothing crazy. Hey, here's what taxes are. Here's how you budget. Here's a checking account. Here's a savings account. Here's how you invest. Here are the basic things to money. Because you have young people growing up and they don't know the basics. They know, go get a job. You get a job. You can go spend the money on whatever you want to spend it on. But we're not teaching them, hey, wait. You may get a check for $1,000. But you still got taxes coming out at $1,000. You still got to pay your rent or your mortgage one day. You still got to pay electricity bill. Oh, you still got to pay insurance, health insurance, car insurance. You got to pay all this stuff. Let's teach you how to live your life. So we got to teach them the basics of foundations. Then number 3, which is so important, we got to teach young people, especially teenagers, how to maximize their single season. Because
what does that mean?
So when I say maximize your single season is one day you're going to desire marriage. And the last thing you want to do is get to your marriage and you didn't maximize your single season. You racked up all this debt. You got this job. You didn't start a business. You didn't build a savings account. You didn't get closer to God. You didn't get a job promotion. It's like, wait, it's just you. You are your only responsibility. You have no kids, no spouse, no major priorities, but you and your livelihood. So I want to start teaching younger people now, especially single people, how do we maximize this season? So if you're single for 10 years, you should be able to have $100,000 sitting in your savings account. You should have a fully funded emergency fund. You should have no debt. You should be well along in your career path or starting a business. You should be deeper in your relationship with God if you are a Christian. You should be healthy. Brothers, you should be in shape. You should have a six-pack and a nice little chest, and ladies should be nice and beautiful. Like we should really be maximizing this season, because we don't have to worry about kids waking us up at 5 o'clock in the morning and say, Mama, Daddy, can I do this? Can I do that? We don't have to worry about a spouse and checking in with a spouse and, hey, babe, I'm going to go do this. It's just you. So maximize this season, so when you do get married, man, you could bring a lot to the table, and you're not bringing a lot of garbage and a lot of junk to the table. Now, we're all humans. We're going to come to the table with our future spouse with some kind of garbage, something that's not as healthy. We're human. But the problem that I'm seeing as a single man, and as I'm talking to married people, sometimes we bring more garbage, more liabilities and assets. And I want to help single people bring more assets, bring more joy, bring more peace, bring more wealth to the table than liabilities, than junk. So I think those are three main things. Teach young people how to get a vision, teach them the basis of financial education, and teach them how to maximize their single season.
What about those children that don't want to listen? Because there's a lot of young people today, right, Anthony? I work with a lot of students. There's a lot of young people today that say, well, you know what? It goes in one ear, just goes out in the other. I'm sure a lot of parents listening as well, they're probably struggling, like getting their message across. How can you effectively get like these points across, like, hey, let's talk about life. Let's talk about vision. Because one of my favorite books is Think and Grow Rich, which I read, I think, when I was 22 by Napoleon Hill. One of the people I look up to, Damon John, recommended that in, I don't know, it was like an interview or something. And I read that, and it was amazing, because I never thought about it that way. You need to have like a burning vision. You need to have a burning desire to get to your vision, So how do you effectively get this across to a young person, Anthony?
I think we need to stop focusing on trying to effectively get across and just do our job as in parents, right? And just really give them the education. There's a proverb that says, train your child up in a way that he or she should go, and eventually they will return, right? And I think that what we have to do is just make sure that we do the job of giving them the information. Prime example, I was a hardhead growing up. My parents gave me all the information as far as spiritually and enough information, right? But I decided to leave it. But look at me now, I've returned. And I think I want to relieve parents, mentors. Listen, at some point in life, all of us didn't listen at one point in life. When we were kids, we didn't listen to 100% of everything our parents taught us. But as we got older, we started remembering what was taught to us. And we started remembering, you know what? They were right. You know what? They were right. And I think that's the main thing that we really want to really focus on is, are we giving our kids the correct information? Focus on giving them the correct information and exposing them to the right thing. It is your job to expose, your job to teach, your job to give wisdom. It is not your job to make them retain it. It is their job to retain it. It is your job to expose, teach, and provide.
Yeah.
As they get older, it is their job then to retain it and to remember it. And at 38 years old, man, I told my parents this the other day, thank you. Like thank you. In my book, Debt Free Degree, when I was with Dave Ramsey, the first chapter, I talk about the 6 P's. Proper prior planning prevents poor performances. Now, my father taught me that when I was 5 years old at 2 a.m. in the morning one time. But my father learned that in the Marines because he was in the military. But I remember my father teaching me that. And I was like, man, this makes no sense. Proper prior planning prevents poor performances. What in the world? Like, Dad, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like 5, 6 years old. This makes no sense. But at 38, I understand what my dad was doing and what he meant. That if you properly and priorly plan, it's going to prevent you from doing something crazy in the near future. It's going to prevent you from making mistakes. It's going to prevent you from getting into debt. It's going to prevent you from getting that divorce. It's going to prevent you from doing something stupid. And so now at 38, at 30, I'm like, Dad, you made sense. So it was my dad's responsibility to teach. It is now my responsibility to retain and to apply. And so I would just tell people to make sure that, hey, teach, train, and we'll go from there. So good. Woo.
Yeah. I love that, Anthony, because I think a lot of parents are struggling, you know.
Yeah.
How about the college students? I work with a lot of college students out there. They graduate, they get the first job. You spoke a little bit about the things that you should be having, the habits that you should be applying in order to build wealth. What does it take to build these 5 things that you were speaking about earlier, especially for a 22-year-old or 23-year-old who just got their first job?
I think the very first thing is continue education. Let's say you graduate from college and you're in your first job. The very first thing is continue education as far as in investing into yourself. That should always be number one. Always be on YouTube, Google, getting a certificate, always be growing your number one asset, which is your mind. So invest back into you. Once you do that, number 2, it goes back to what I said with teenagers. Write down the vision. Where are you going? You see, vision causes alignment. And I think that's very important for someone in their 20s, because when you get a clear vision, that clear vision becomes your yes and no's. When you have a clear vision and you're 22, if you have a friend or if you start dating someone, that they have to be aligned with your vision. Now, let's say your vision is you want to be debt free. You want to be a doctor by 28 and you want to be debt free and you want to live here. I'm not saying that your vision, the people coming into your life needs to be the exact same, but maybe they want to have a solid career. They also want to be debt free. They also want to do this. Doesn't have to be the exact same thing as you, but you all are going in the same direction. And if they are not going in the same direction, doesn't mean they're going in a bad direction. It simply means they're not going in a direction that you're going in. So y'all two just don't align. Alignment doesn't mean bad. It just means we're not aligned. So let's not go down this path together. So once you get that vision, it helps you know, should I be with this person? Should I be in this friendship? Should I be a part of this business? No, I can't go out here. Maybe I can do this. Oh, I can't. I should do this. A vision helps you keep going and progressing forward. So number 1, continued education. Number 2, get a solid vision. Number 3, avoid debt. Keep debt off of the table. Make sure that you are focused on building wealth, getting a fully funded emergency fund, investing in the right areas, and using cash as much as you possibly can. Avoid debt. The number 1 way to really slow down your life and to not make and not retire when you want to retire is when you start racking up debt. So those are 3 main things that I recommend to, especially college kids up front, is to invest in yourself, continue learning, continue growing, continue evolving. Number 2, get a clear vision that's going to keep you aligned. And number 3, avoid debt.
You spoke about, I think, margins earlier. I don't know if you used that word, Anthony, but let's say I'm like 22 years old. I just heard what you're saying. I work on my vision. I'm investing time on YouTube, bought some online courses. I'm ready to go, so to speak. But I'm making $3,000 per month. What's the margin I should be looking for? Like, I don't know if there's a magic number. How much should I be saving? I should be saving. I don't know how much because I didn't get that information or that knowledge from my parents.
I wouldn't say that there's a particular number when it comes to margin, but margin is important. And so there's 4 main things that you really need to focus on when you're looking at your budget, right? That's going to be your home. That's going to be your clothing. That's going to be your food. And that's going to be your utilities. So you're going to make sure that all 4 of those are taken care of. Then you're going to look at your budget and make sure that, hey, am I overspending in certain areas? You see, margin is started by having a detailed every dollar budget. So you look at it, well, if you're only making $3,000 a month, do you need Spotify, Apple Music, and Tidal? You know, if you're only making $3,000 a month, do you need Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, and HBO Plus? So how do we create margin? Well, we get rid of certain things for a certain amount of time. Only have Netflix, or only have Hulu, or only have Apple Music, or only have, Spotify. Do you need 2 gym memberships, or even do you even need a gym membership? Are you going to the gym every day? So what we do to create margin is we look at a budget and we start taking things off of the budget. Now, if you have debt, you don't have any margin because all extra income, except for $1,000 in your emergency fund, is going towards getting rid of that debt. And so we're not creating margin while we're in debt. We're getting rid of debt. And so if you're in debt, you don't have margin. If you're out of debt and you have a fully funded emergency fund, what you're doing is you're trying to look at, okay, where can I create some more margin just so I can have some breathing room? And so, and I do that, I make sure that I create margin on the business side and on the personal side of things.
That's a great advice. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see? You spoke about single people earlier before they get married and so on. What are the biggest mistakes you see people make? How do these mistakes play into their finances and their relationships?
I think one of the things that I see single people making a mistake on, and it's pretty simple, man, because I don't want to be repetitive, but one of the biggest mistakes I've seen single people doing is, they spend too much on dating. They're spending $200 here, $300 there, but then they're not investing. If you can spend $200, $300 a month on dating and you have nothing invested, you're making a big mistake. You are making a huge mistake. Because what you're saying is you care more about impressing her than you care more about impressing your wife. Ooh, I got to teach that on my show. You care more about impressing, him on getting right for the date than you do more about securing and bringing something to the table to your husband. And I think single people, what we have to start doing is looking at, okay, what's priority? Priority is a foundation for you and your future. A priority is not impressing her when it goes out to a date. Oh man, that's so good. I'm teaching that on my show, bro. Because it's like, great. I see single people doing that. Like, yo, did you just spend $400 on that date? I did. Did you even invest $400 last month into your 401k, into your IRA? Nah, I don't have a 401k. You do. You're just spending it on her. You're spending it on him. So for me, I think that's the thing. Some of our priorities are not together. And if we can get our priorities together, we'll be all right.
Yeah, it's all about priorities in life. I agree, Anthony. I agree. Yep. It's been a pleasure to speak to you, Anthony. Where can people find you online to learn more about you?
Man, they can go to anthonyoneal.com. They'll find a lot of resources there, a lot of tools there to get some free stuff on how to get out of debt, how to build a budget, how to deal with taxes, how to date properly. We really have a lot of good resources there, and they'll be able to find my show information, my Instagram, YouTube page, all that. So go to anthonyoneal.com.
Thank you very much, Anthony. It's been a pleasure. I learned a lot, and I hope, I'm sure the audience learned a lot as well. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, man.
A lot of gratitude for listening to Fika with Rice. I really mean that. If you like the show, I would love if you can leave us a 5-star review, whatever you're listening to your podcast. It helps us so much to get the word out there to other listeners. If you have any questions or any feedback, I would love to hear from you. I'm just a DM away on Instagram or TikTok at Fredrik van Huynh. So looking forward to hearing from you guys. Thank you so much.
Let's go!